You are listening to the Toxic Mold Podcast with Steve Worsley, the toxic mold expert and your number one source for mold consulting and mitigation in the USA. Let's dive into a brand new episode.
Before we get started on this episode, here's a not-so-short disclaimer. While all attempts have been made to verify the content provided in this podcast, neither the podcaster nor the producers assume any responsibility for errors, omissions, or alternative interpretations of the issues discussed here. All information stated in this podcast is the opinion of Steve Worsley. Steve Worsley is a mold specialist with over 25 years of experience in the construction and mold industry. The Toxic Mold Podcast is for information sharing purposes only. The views expressed are those of the podcaster and his alone. These views should not be taken as expert instruction or commands. While there may be references to medical conditions and symptoms, all podcast episodes are the opinion of Steve Worsley, and any medical questions or concerns shall be addressed with the appropriate licensed medical professional or professionals. As the podcaster refers to different mold types, please be aware that Steve Worsley is not a microbiologist, and questions concerning mold specifics should be answered by the appropriate professional. Steve isn't, nor does he offer any legal advice. For any legal advice, you must speak to a lawyer. The listener is 100% responsible for his or her own actions. You can check out Steve's books on Amazon. Just go to Amazon and search for author Steve Worsley. You can also take Steve's mold education courses, such as Mold 101 and the Mycotoxin Prevention Kit, by going to cnccontractorservices.com. Again, check out his mold education courses at cnccontractorservices.com. Now, let's get to the episode.
Hello, you're listening to the Toxic Mold Podcast with myself, Steve Worsley, and we have my wife, Cassandra. This week's topic is another, seems to be hot topic. But the title is Before You DIY for Toxic Mold Removal. What does that tell you?
That tells me lots of people think they can do great mold remediation on their own with the help of YouTube.
Yep. And the most common thing I see on social media is we cannot afford to do remediation. But my brother, my dad, my cousin, my uncle is a contractor.
Correct. Or somebody who thinks that they know enough about mold to actually properly remove it, which oftentimes will get them into a worse situation.
Right. Like you said, they can YouTube it. They can go to these Facebook groups. Like, it just, they all feel like they can do it on their own because they're handy.
Correct. What do you say to people who say, I can't afford to do mold remediation, so I need to do it on my own?
Well, most of the time, it's probably going to cost you 2 or 3 times the money and the amount of time if you try to do it yourself.
Yep.
It's like me trying to work on one of our vehicles.
Yeah.
What ends up happening? Well, I don't do it very often. But...
No. And that's probably not a good example because you usually do it pretty well.
Well, I guess my point is I get as far as I can and however much I learn on YouTube. And then I'm like, I'll just take it to a mechanic. So my point is I end up having to pay a mechanic to do it.
That's
anyways.
true, because a specialist is a specialist for a reason.
Exactly. And, for us, we do this all the time. We're certified. We have all the equipment. We're insured. There's many reasons you should hire a professional. But we wanted to do an episode of the consequences of the DIYers out there.
Correct. And oftentimes the DIYers are doing lots of no-no things, like they're still living in the house while they're remediating, correct?
Right.
And what are the side effects to doing things like that?
Well, I guess it all depends on what they didn't do. Did they cover all the HVAC vents up? Did they shut down their air handler? Did they create negative air? I mean, there's just a lot of things, that they could do wrong that to us is just kind of common knowledge. Like I said, we do this all the time, but cross-contamination's probably one of the biggest concerns.
And what is cross-contamination?
That would be the contaminated air, let's just say the problems in your laundry room, and it contaminates the areas outside of it.
Okay.
And, that could be improper containments, it could be improper negative air, people that listen to the podcast have heard me say, the cross-contamination likely has already happened.
Mm-hmm.
But when I talk about that, we're talking about the natural movement throughout the home. Now you add on top of that, you're in there cutting into walls, doing all sorts of things. You're changing the air pressures in the home. There's a lot of things when you start doing it on your own that could make things go sideways quickly.
Absolutely. So when people are just thinking about, they're just looking at their situation and they know their health is being affected by mold. They know that the mold, for whatever reason, even if they don't fully understand why, is getting worse. What should they be doing?
Well, they should be hiring a professional. Is that what you're asking?
Oh, yeah, but why, I guess, is my question.
Well, like I said, we have processes that we follow. We know what we're doing. Like I said, things as simple as a containment could be not installed properly, and all of that contaminated air is just coming into the rest of the home.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're living there or not, that's what's going to happen. They could do something as simple as not covering up an HVAC register and in the room they're working in, and now they just took all this contaminated stuff and it's in their ductwork. Like,
that's a problem.
And part of remediation is, we talked about an SPC, but like part of remediation is duct cleaning and having your HVAC components inspected.
Mm-hmm.
These are things that I know because I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah. So, but I guess here's one thing I'd love to touch on. People watch these YouTube videos. And a lot of the YouTube videos will show them, okay, the mold is on this wall. Here's how you cut out this amount of sheetrock. But those videos will rarely ever teach them, for example, what you end up doing a lot of, which is chasing the mold. What happens when people just willy-nilly cut out certain things that they can see without chasing the mold?
Well, the first thing I would say to that is most of the mold that we deal with is not even visible. Meaning you can't see it until you start cutting into things.
Wow.
Well, let's go back to the scenario. So let's just say there's an issue in the laundry room. Well, once we do our initial flood cut, we assess what we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say the drain pipe for the clothes washing machine has been leaking. We see water stains on the sill plate, so that's the bottom of the wall. Well, depending on the layout of the home and my experience, then a red light goes off like, oh, what's going on below that?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just the room you're dealing with, it's areas adjacent to it. So if you don't have the experience and you just watch a YouTube video and it shows somebody cutting out mold that's visible, but doesn't go into, well, what do you do about the insulation behind it? Well, what do you do if it's on an exterior wall? What do you do with the wall studs? What do you do with the sill plate? Like, what do you do about the room below it or above it? Like, nobody addresses all of that because we don't even know as professionals what we're going to run into.
Okay, so really, it does require somebody who knows what to look for and somebody who knows what to do about what they find.
Yeah, I think if you were to look at it this way, and I do a lot of comparisons with the medical side, what does a trauma surgeon have over just a GP who doesn't even really do surgeries? Like, they know what to do once they've cut into your belly and, they find whatever internal bleed. Like, they know what to do in those situations in real time.
Yeah.
Now, I get it. A surgery's way different, someone bleeding out versus remediation on your home. But in real time, you have to know what to be doing and what to be looking for and what steps need to happen next. Could you imagine if our listeners well, I cut it out and then I can hurry and go watch a 20-minute YouTube video. Okay, so then you do the next step and then you watch a 20-minute video. It brings me back to what I said before. It's going to take you 2 to 3 times longer than if you hired a professional.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely.
Does that make sense?
And in the long run, it's still going to cost you the money of a professional, even though you spent the money to try to DIY it. When you don't get it right, then you still have to pay the money for a professional.
Right. And let's address something that's a huge thing. For our listeners, obviously I can't hear your answer, but how many of you have all the equipment that we have as professionals?
Very few.
Do you have air scrubbers? Doubt it. Do you have ozone machines? Doubt it. Do you have HEPA vacuums? Doubt it. Do you have all the chemicals? Doubt it.
Do you know how to put up a solid containment?
Exactly. Do you know how to put in a zipper door? Like, those are things we do all the time, and it's easy for me.
Yeah.
On my last project, like one of the last days I was there, I was doing a flood cut in the laundry room, and I had a containment up, so all our listeners know this, but it's clear plastic, so the client could see what I cut out, and he's like, wow, like, all of a sudden there was a wall, now there's no wall, and you have all this done, and you've already sanded, and yeah, I know what to do.
Absolutely. And the order in which to do it.
Exactly.
So what do you say to somebody who says, okay, Steve, I get all of that, but we just don't have 30,000, 40,000, 20,000, and we've got to do something about the mold. What's your advice to them?
Well, if you can't afford it, there's no way. You can't borrow the money. You can't get a HELOC, which is a home equity loan. Insurance won't cover it. At least reach out to a professional like myself that can walk you through the steps and prepare you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're, hate to use the term, hell-bent on doing it yourself, at least ask somebody for advice.
Absolutely. So you're doing at least some of it properly.
I'm not going to sit there and shame you and go, you're a fool for doing this. I'll help walk you through the steps. I'll be very clear, you need a professional, but get somebody that knows what they're doing. At least get their advice.
What do you say to people who think that they're going to DIY mold remediation in a weekend?
Oh, that never happens.
Okay.
What happens when I do a 2-week project?
It becomes a 1-month project.
Right. Well, the last one did. But you can't even, once again, this is where experience comes into play. You can't even get all your floor protection and containments up on a project that's 3 or 4 work areas. You can't even do that in a day or two.
Okay.
And, there's a process to, once all the mold's removed, is there a cool down period? If there is, how long is that? A weekend's not even enough.
Okay.
So and if you're doing that, you're rushing.
Correct. And rushing never leads to good things.
Right.
So what is your call to action for people?
Like I said, get a professional's advice on what you're doing.
Yes.
If you think it's just simple, reach out to somebody like myself. And there are simple things out there, so I'm not gonna lie, but for the most part, I'll explain to you, well, what if?
Absolutely.
I've done all those what ifs.
Definitely. And you do offer, scope of work packages?
Yep. We do scope of work packages, probably one of the more common things I do. It's not a template that is the same for everybody. It's specific to your project. You'll have to give me information like, I don't need exact square footage, but, what level of the home you're doing the remediation, where's the exterior door, where can we duct the air scrubbers or negative air machines. But I specifically lay it out. In New York and Florida, I'm not sure if Texas is there yet, but you have to have an independent third party besides the mitigation company create your scope of work.
Okay.
Or the protocols. So we're not going to get into that subject, but our listeners know how I feel about that. You should be able to use the same person to do the inspection and then the remediation, but we're not going down that road. So.
But clearly you offer a service where you could create the scope of work for someone.
Yep, absolutely. And, a lot of times we'll do a VPA first just so I can get the layout of the house. If not, I prefer for you to give me a blueprint of the house, but I definitely offer those, and it's not a set price. It's based on the hours that I put in, but it's well worth it.
Well,
we're talking, $300 to $600.
Oh, wow. That's a good price.
So, yep. All right. Well, we appreciate all you listeners. Have a great week.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If mold in your home has you up at night, wondering if your house is making you sick, it is time for a plan. With a mold consult, in other words, the mold environment assessment and evaluation plan from CNC Contractors Services, you will get a 90-minute strategy call with Steve Worsley, who will review your home environment, answer your toughest questions, and create personalized mold recommendations and next steps just for you. Don't let mold concerns take over. Take control. Visit cnccontractorservices.com to schedule your mold consult today so you can breathe easier in your home tomorrow.